The Jamie Dyer Show.
Delighted to have, via the medium of the telephone today, comedian Lorna Shaw, who is coming to Brighton in May. For those who aren't particularly familiar, how would you describe your comedy?
Oh, straight in there with a big question. I would describe it as very relatable, high energy, and yeah, it's sort of a blend of character and stand-up and music. So I guess it would be considered slightly alternative, but still accessible.
You have lots of musical bits and pieces. Who writes the stuff for that?
So I write all the music for it. I had some help this year with the show. I worked with a couple of music artists who did some backing tracks for me. And so I worked with a guy called Ben Champion, who's an absolutely brilliant musician, and he did an amazing backing track for me for the end of the show because my musical capabilities are a little bit limited. So I write the melodies and the lyrics, and I have little ideas for songs. For this show, I didn't want to be stuck behind my guitar because I also can't play guitar that well. And so I was like, right, I'm going to get myself some backing tracks and things so that I'm free to move around and dance, and so it just sounds that little bit better.
Yes, I mean, your show, Ava Rage, is coming to Brighton in May. Can you give us a little rundown about what the show is about and the fact that you're playing a character as well?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of refer to her as more of an alter ego than a character, because as the show has developed, I've realised that she is just an extension of myself and how I was feeling at the time that I wrote the show, which was just a bit overwhelmed with choice, indecisive, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. But because I've sort of come from an acting and character background, the thought of being myself on stage was a little bit scary. So I sort of created this alter ego, which I thought would be really fun to play. So she is an office worker who is having a bit of a crisis. And it's just one of these people who's saying, I'm going to get out of the 9-to-5 grind, I'm going to do something else, but she can't actually decide what she wants to do. So that's her in a nutshell. So she's a little bit delusional. She thinks she's got something special, but nothing is really happening in her life. She's quite mundane. She's living a very ordinary existence, but she sort of has these little fantasy scenarios and these high expectations of what she's about.
The show is just you, isn't it? It's like a one-person show.
It is, yeah.
Not really giving anything away. How do you bring forth these fantasies and things?
With music a little bit, and just sort of flipping into little different skits and sketches. So I have, without giving too much away, I will segue into like a little short musical interlude, where I'll just bring music in while she goes off on a bit of a tangent, and then we sort of snap back to doing a bit of stand-up. It's kind of a stand-up show with a few other bells and whistles, if you like. So there's lots of jokes in it, and it's her chatting about her life, but then there'll be little segments that are more fantastical and surreal. How
would you say the character kind of differs from yourself? Because you said that it's kind of an alter ego rather than a character. Would you say that you've developed a little bit more like her as the time has gone by?
Yeah, I mean, I flipped between playing her more like me and then pushing her to a more extreme character. I don't know if I've become more like her, but the material is definitely, a lot of it is my point of view. And then I've sort of heightened it or skewed it slightly to either be funnier or just take it away from my world and my friends and my job, and put a bit of just sort of taking it into a different realm. But yeah, essentially it is how it's a lot of personal experience and my point of view on things. And I've also done a lot of material as stand-up comedy at stand-up gigs where I've just been me, where it's just been Lorna Shaw having a chat on stage and using a lot of the material in a slightly different way. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does indeed. I mean, you mentioned that you do stand-up outside, and obviously you use little bits and pieces. For those who might not be familiar, what do you do outside of this show?
So yeah, I gig in London. I'm London-based, so I'm doing gigs in London and around the country. So any sort of stand-up compilation nights that I can get on, I'm doing that at the moment. And then working on a new show, so I'm up at the Edinburgh Fringe this year doing a work in progress. And I'm an actor as well, so when that work comes along, I'm doing bits and pieces of TV and theatre and things like that.
Do you find it easier to act your own things as opposed to stuff written by somebody else?
There's pros and cons. Learning somebody else's lines is sometimes quite freeing because you find yourself completely in somebody else's shoes because somebody else has written it, and you sometimes get to exercise your acting muscles a bit further because you're not relying on your old tropes or the things that you're comfortable with. But it's always more difficult to learn somebody else's lines because you haven't written them, so they haven't come from your brain. But the thing with learning your own show is that you're constantly editing it. You're constantly director, writer and actor at any time that you're performing the show. So you're constantly re-editing the lines, saying them slightly differently, and it's very hard to actually learn it like a script because it's always changing, and that can be very frustrating.
Well,
so yeah, pros and cons.
Yeah, definitely with that, yes. But with your own show, Ava Rage, which is coming to Brighton very soon, if people wanted to find
tomorrow.
out... Is it?
Yes, it goes up tomorrow, which is, I think, the preview day of the festival, and then the festival officially starts on Friday. So I'm on, tomorrow, Friday and Saturday.
Well, that's the thing. So you must be in rehearsals right now.
Yeah, almost. Not right now. But yeah, I am. I'm in rehearsals with myself. It's just me at the moment. I'm meeting my director tonight to run the show. But I've done the show in Edinburgh, so I did it for the full month's run in Edinburgh. So this is the final outing for it, I imagine, before I move on to my next show. So I'm just really excited to do it 3 last times in Brighton for a different audience at this brilliant venue. And revisit the show. I've sort of refreshed it a bit and rejigged it based on how it went in Edinburgh. And so this potentially is the last time that I'll do it.
Yes, although it's the last time for the show in particular, will it be the last time for the character?
No, I want to continue her. Yeah, I'm not sure in what capacity yet, but she will still exist and be doing comedy and cabaret nights. And then I'll also be doing straight stand-up and stuff like that. So she's not retiring yet.
Now, obviously, knowing that this is tomorrow, we better get out some details. So if people wanted to find out more about you, where would they need to go?
So you can go to my website, which is lornashawcomedy.com. I'm also on Twitter at Lorna Shaw. So I'll be tweeting about the show. And then if you want to book a ticket for the show, you can go to the Warren box office. So I'm on at the Warren in the theatre box, and you can book tickets directly through them at the Warren box office, which is near York Place, so it's quite central to Brighton. And then you can also go to the Fringe website, and there's an app as well. There's a Fringe app, so you can look me up on that.
You say that this is the last run of this show in particular. Have you got anything else lined up?
I've got some previews of my new show coming up in London. Nothing in Brighton as of yet, although I do sometimes gig at the Comedia. I'm doing the Funny Women gig at the Comedia in Brighton on Saturday. And so you can always look out for Brighton dates on my website. But yeah, I'm previewing my new show pre-Edinburgh. So I've got a couple of dates, end of May and June, doing that. And just keeping on gigging.
How do you keep motivation? How do you keep yourself motivated?
It's hard, but and it's peaks and troughs in terms of inspiration for material. But I guess I try and look for material in everything. So that means that even if you can find motivation in even the most mundane things, and my stuff is quite daily, based on quite daily experiences, so there's always the potential to be motivated even if nothing is really happening in my life. I could normally find some comedy even if it's in how mundane things are. But it is hard to stay motivated when you're just writing material yourself. So I just try and do it in short blocks of time and just say, right, I can sit down for an hour today and write material. And then it might be that I end up sitting down for 3 hours. But if I only aim for one, then it's more manageable.
Well, I think it can be better to do that, because in my own personal experience, otherwise you start seeing comedy everywhere and then you can't take anything seriously.
Yeah, that is the trouble. And it does ruin things in that way a little bit, because you're constantly thinking, oh, could I make that into something?
I know, well, and you just wish you had a pen and paper around.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I've got into the habit of just writing things on my phone, so I've just got loads of memos on my phone of just little ideas. And a lot of the time I'll go back to them and I'm like, what the hell was that? That's rubbish. And then you end up deleting them, but it's always worth jotting things down. There's that Japanese proverb that says the faintest ink is more important than the very best idea, or something like that. I've massively paraphrased that. But if you don't write it down, you will not remember it. So that is key.
Unless it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, Ava Rage is coming to the Warren Theatre Box at St Peter's Church, North York Place, Brighton, between the 3rd and the 5th of May as part of Brighton Fringe. Thank you so much, Lorna, for coming on today and talking, and all the best for the run and for your future shows as well. And hopefully after this there won't be any dry ideas.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a lovely chat.
The Jamie Dyer Show.